Hey everyone, welcome to this new IEN workshop. My name is Daniel De Michele, and I am the founder of IOT2TANGLE. So, as we promised, today we will be going through the process of integrating this little fella. This is in the Bosch XDK110 with the IOTA streams. But today we will be using Keepy. I don't know if you guys know about Keepy yet. But Keepy basically is like a middle instance between the XDK110 and the Streams Gateway that's going to allow us to interact with the data that we store on the Streams channels in a faster and easier way. Okay. So basically what Keepy is going to be adding for us is a sort of buffer that we will have up front of the gateway, and that is going to allow us to send like a lot of information, and that buffer is going to retain the data, and it's going to create bundles that will be then sent to the gateway every, let's say, 15 seconds. And on the other hand, Keepy is going to allow us to ask a channel, not precisely a channel because we will see, but it's going to allow us to ask an endpoint for, let's say, the last data set created on a channel. And this is a critical need for many IoT applications. And this is something that we saw during the hackathon in which we are now. Many applications need to have the ability to query the gateway, but they only need to get the last message sent. And right now with streams, that is not possible, because when you tune in a channel by providing the channel ID, what you actually get is the complete messages story you have sent there. So you gotta go through all the messages to find the last one, probably using the timestamps as a parameter, and that is not ideal at all. So what Keepy will give us is the ability to ask an endpoint, which is the last message sent to this channel ID, or probably you want to get the last 5. Okay, you can ask Keepy for the last 5 messages, and he should be able to retrieve that. So because we're going to be installing the software for the XDK110, and then Keepy, and then the gateway that we will be using. This is like a 3 instances workshop. I'm going to start right now. Let's not waste more time. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So let's go to the... So this is basically what I was explaining, and I'm not going to be here again. We should add like some sort of new middle layer here, which would be Keepy. Okay. It's important to understand that Keepy has a local database. It is actually a MySQL database. Keepy is a very, very simple solution. If you go to the Keepy repo and you see the code, you will see that it is an Express-based Node.js application, and it's really, really simple, which was the idea. Basically, what Keepy does is it mounts an endpoint. You can send the data to the endpoint. Then that data is going to be sent to the gateway. The gateway is going to return a channel ID, and then Keepy is going to store all the data set plus the channel ID on a database. This is what allows us to only query for the last message later. But, and this is really important, you will always have the message plus the channel ID. So if you want to run some sort of validation to see if this data set you're getting from the Keepy database is actually on the channel ID, you will be able to do that. Okay. So as I said, we will be using the XDK110. So probably the best thing we could do is to start by getting that. I'm going to be opening my Git. let's go to, I'm gonna create the make their, I don't know, XDK110. Let's put EP XDK110. We will probably get all the needed files there. XDK110. Okay. So as you might notice, I have here the XDK Workbench. This is the IDE we use to flash software to the XDK110. So the first thing we gotta do is to, nope, here, I gotta go to the IOT2TANGLE repo, GitHub. And if you take a look here, we have the XDK110 for Bosch. Let's get this. Let's clone this repo. Now here we just will do it. Clone. Clone. This is going to get us all the C code we need to flash here. And now we can go to the XDK Workbench. Here, if you take a look here, we don't have any devices plugged in. Actually, we will be plugging one device later. So here at this space, we do right click, and we will import a project. Project from folder or archive. That's okay. Now we will seek for one of these. So I have my folder on C, Keepy XDK110, and let's use the HTTP. Yeah, I don't want to be using an SD card today. So now let's put here finish. So while this is importing, I will create an endpoint from my cell phone. I didn't have the time to do that, but I don't want to make sure in my home Wi-Fi password, just in case one of my neighbors is watching this, which is highly unlikely. So let me see if I can config this. Yes, I should. Okay, we will have time because the compilation time is going to take a while. So right now we have this here. We have the IOT2TANGLE folder. And if you take a look here in source, yeah, we have the files will be compiled. And here is where we will have to edit some data. Basically, we will have to provide with the device ID. Here, I have to put my Wi-Fi password and user. The endpoint, the XDK110 should send the data to. This will be the port. Usually, we would use a gateway, but today we are going to be using Keepy. So I already know, because I created two VPSs, because I like to do this from zero, from scratch. I was going to do this with Keepy running on a Raspberry, but I thought that probably it's better to have it running on a VPS. So because I know in which IP my VPS is going to be, and start changing this. So I'm going to send the XDK110 data to Keepy. It's going to be here. I know that the port for Keepy is going to be this one, because this is the default port Keepy runs on. I know that the device name is going to be XDK110 with a, let's just copy this because we will need this later when we configure the gateway. Here, yeah, and this is the endpoint that we would be using if we were running the gateway and the XDK send the data to the gateway. But since this is not the case, I need to put messages. Let's just take quick view here to the Keepy repo to be sure that the post endpoint is messages. I am pretty sure that is the case. Yeah. So basically, yeah, this is okay. So my XDK110 is going to be sending files to this IP over this port. This port is not correct because this is actually free. Well, not again, like this. Keep is going to be running this port by default. You can change that. I'm not going to be doing that change. And here, yeah, give me a moment because I want to be sure about my cell phone password. Yeah, I am. Okay, so I'm going to be using, just a second, sorry, I didn't have time to do this prior to the, this is going to be called XDK2TANGLE. Sorry, this is the default name I have on my cell phone for the access point, probably from the times in which we did workshops with XDK2TANGLE, and the password is a very, very secure password. I think that not even quantum computing is going to be able to defeat my password. 78, 2 additional characters, which add like 2 more minutes to crack the password. Okay, so XDK2TANGLE, I'm just going to be checking this because it's going to be pain in the ass if this is, if we have a problem here on this data. XDK2TANGLE, yeah, and we would because this is actually XDK2TANGLE.2. Okay. So I'm going to be saving these changes. We changed the device ID, the SSID, the password, the IP. We will be sending the data to the port, the endpoint. Okay. So this seems to be ready to be compiled. So here we got to do clean project. And remember that you have all these instructions in our IOT2TANGLE repository. So I am just following what we described here in our step-by-step guides. So as you can see, I was editing on that. Okay, we didn't see this. This is basically to select which sensors we will be using. We will be using all of them. And then this is what I'm doing now. I'm going to be cleaning and building, and then we will be flush. So here we see that the cleanup thing went fine. Let's now build. And the build, this is actually compiling the code, and it's going to be taking around, I don't know, probably five minutes. So what I would do while we wait for this is I would start probably, this is a good idea, just not to be staring at the screen as this compiles. So we can move on and we can, for instance, install the Keepy, right? Which is another thing we will be using. So I'm gonna head to the Keepy repo, which is this one, and then we will make a connection to the VPS. Remember that Keepy is gonna be run on the VPS, and then the gateway that we will be running. Hello, Gianfranco, Gabby, and thanks, Guy, for tuning in. So I'm going to be connecting to my VPS for Keepy. And that is, according to what I have here, this one. These are brand new VPSs, so we will have to install everything here. I mean, everything what is required by Keepy. So let's go. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to be copying and pasting commands. I am running this VPS as a root user, so I don't need to use the sudo make me a sandwich. But if you're running with another user, you will. So now that we updated the repositories, let's install some software. Basically, I'm installing Git, Node.js, Node Package Manager, and a MySQL server, because remember that Keepy uses a MySQL database to save the data sets we send from the IoT devices. So this is going to take time. And meanwhile, we can check here how this compilation is going. This is multitasking. Okay. Yeah, so we are running the required commands to install the packages we need on the VPS to have Keepy. And on the background, we are compiling the C code that we will flash to the XDK110. So let's go to the next command we will be using here, which is, okay, this is on brand new VPSs. You will use this probably if you already have installed MySQL server on your Ubuntu or Debian or Raspberry Pi or whatever you're using, or your VPS also. You don't need to do this, but I will, because this is going to allow me to set a root MySQL user password, and it's gonna also allow me to secure the MySQL installation by disabling remote logins and stuff like that. So it's going to ask me a lot of things. Let me check. You will be answering yes most of the times. So here I'm going to say 0 because I will. This password we are using here is actually the root password, but for the MySQL. This would be like the MySQL root password. Okay, it is not the same as the system root password. So it's telling me that my password is not that strong. Remove anonymous users, yes. Disallow root login, yes. I don't want anyone to connect to this remotely. When you create, when you install MySQL, it creates a test database. I don't want that either, so kill it. And let's reload the privileges. Okay. So we've finished with the MySQL part. Now this part, we won't be doing it today, but if you're going to be using a Raspberry to run Keepy, you should consider it, because sometimes this port is not exposed on Raspberries. I know that these VPSs I am using have this port open, so I don't need to run these steps. So let's just download the Keepy thing on the VPS. Okay, we got it. Let's jump in the Keepy directory. Okay, let's just list what we have here. Okay, so Keepy is gonna create a new MySQL user. This is a good idea, not to be using the root MySQL user here. So we gotta tell Keepy how do we want to name this user and which password we will be using for this user. So to do this, we have a SQL instructions in this keepy.sql file. If you take a look here, okay, it's creating a user. I'm gonna be leaving Keepy, which is the one that comes by default, but I will change this to, I don't know, Keepy 2020. I'm gonna do the same here. This step is important unless you know how to create a new user, and probably you don't need this. But This is going to create a new user for us while creating the data, the table and the database that we will be using. So it's going to do everything at once. So let me check the data so we don't have any issues. Yeah, this is correct. So now that we did this, we can proceed to import the SQL instructions we had on that file we saw just now. So basically this is going to execute all those commands. Let's do that. This password that is requiring is the MySQL root password, because if you take a look here at the prompt, I did require to log in to MySQL as root. So this is the password that we set when we were securing the installation. In my case, I'll just put in the password. Okay, and now we should have a new database and a user. If you want to check that, if you want to fast check that, you can log to MySQL and you can show their databases. You don't need to do this. I just want to be sure that, and you will see that we have Keepy there. Okay, so we do have a new database, Keepy, enough of MySQL. Okay, so let's continue with the installation of Keepy. So now we gotta do, by the way, remember that we have this running on the background, and as you can see, it is already compiled. We did got some warnings, but no errors, so this should be good to go. So let's finish installing Keepy, because once I flash the C code to the XDK110, it's going to start sending the data to Keepy, and Keepy needs to have a gateway to be able to forward. We will install Keepy first, then we will install the Streams Gateway, and then I'm going to be flashing this so we can see the whole thing running. So let's get back to Keepy. I think that the next step was, yeah, we got to configure the file that has the database information. So we know we will be using localhost in this case because the database is running locally. I am not going to be using this one. I will use my new brand created user that is called Keepy. This is the password we're using for Keepy, and the database is indeed Keepy. So let me fast check this. Localhost Keepy. Yeah, it's okay. So we save and we exit. And now the next step is to install the application. Okay, so let's do that. We can do that by running an EM install. It's going to take just a minute. Well, way under a minute. Now everything should be ready to run Keepy. There is still one more step we got to do. If you take a look here, we have this end example file. Let's list hidden files like this. Sorry, my bad. So there you have the end example. And we gotta, first of all, we need to edit this. Okay, here I have an IP address for a gateway, which is not the one we will be using today. So let's start. Yeah, it's not the same IP. I am just finding out that for some reason shouldn't be exposing the an IP address here. It should just say your IP address, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is okay. This is the IP address for the gateway we did not configure yet. This is the port and this is the endpoint. This seems to be correct. So now I'm going to be saving this. Yes, save. Okay, and now I need to rename the end example file to just end. So you can do that by using the move command that will rename. So if you take a look now, we only have the .end file, and inside we have the data. So at this point, Keepy is ready. The next thing you gotta do is to just run Keepy. So let's, and this is also ready. So now we will head to the, I'm gonna open another console. Let's use this same one. Now we gotta configure the streams HTTP gateway. And if you take a look here at the Keepy README, you will see that right now, Keepy is gonna only work with this branch of the streams gateway. And the reason why we didn't merge this into main is that we are in the middle of a hackathon and we don't want to change anything. So once we finish the hackathon, we will be merging this, and this is going to be available on the main branch. But right now, you will have to clone this one, which is called return channel ID. So let's do the gateway now. I'm going to be accessing my second VPS, which I created. Again, all this, the Keepy thing and the gateway could be running on your Linux, or it could be running on your Raspberry Pi, and that wouldn't be an issue. So I already set like passwords, so I don't have to change. Okay, so right now we're going to go to, let me check. We're going to go to this one. Only to get all the needed packages. So let's just, yeah. Okay, so let's start installing. Wait. I think I got to do an apt update first. About this is gonna refresh all the repos and update the mirrors and all that stuff. And now I should be able to install Build Essential. Yes. Una cerveza grande, por favor. Is asking Alex Meya. Okay, now let's install this other one. Yeah, probably you guys are wondering why don't we bundle of these installs in a single piped command, or no, just apt install and then just list everything. I don't know. That's an amazing question. Okay. So right now let's just run another update. Now this one is not needed. We won't install anything else. So now if you follow the Streams Wi-Fi Gateway installer, you would clone this one. But because we're going to be using Keepy, we want to use this branch here, which is the return channel ID. We have this one, which is new, but this is undeveloped right now. So what we do is we copy this here. But remember that we got to do git clone. We got to specify which branch, and in our case, the branch is return channel ID, and then we can just paste the repository git address. So yeah, this seems to be okay. If you don't clone the code, oh, this is amazing. I keep forgetting this is a new VPS that does not have Git. Pretty basic things missing. Okay. Now we should be able to clone this branch. And we did. So now let's install this. The rest of the installation and everything else you will have to do is going to be just exactly the same than if you were running the regular HTTP gateway. So right now we have this folder called streams, and inside we have a file we need to edit, which is the config.json. This is all fine, except for this line that should whitelist the device it's going to be sending data, and that is the XDK110. And as you guys remember, this is the ID we use for that device. So now I gotta just put it here. If the device sending data has an ID that does not match what the gateway is waiting on this whitelisted device IDs, then your request is going to be denied. Basically, you will get an unauthorized device thing, and the data is not going to be stored on the Tangle. So let's save this. This is the only thing I got to change. We will be using a public full nodes IOTA cafe. So that can create some issue. But if that is the scenario, we can always change the node. Okay, so at this point we have let's compile the gateway. Okay, so for that we do. Oh, I'm gonna have to. No, I never installed Rust. That's crazy. I am just thinking that I didn't install Rust. So in order to try to execute a command that is not there, let's install Rust. Oh, I hope this one does not last 1 hour, this workshop. I really think it's a good idea to keep them as tight as possible. Okay. So right now, Rust is installed. And it's telling us to do this, to add cargo to the path. So we can do that if you want. Okay. So now we should be able to run cargo, run, and release. And this is going to compile our streams gateway. Usually this is going to take just as what we have with the XDK110. This can take up to 4 or 5 minutes. But because I got a very good BPS, probably it's going to be done faster. So let's stay here and let's watch the outcome of this. Meanwhile, we can hear how an old lady is walking on the sidewalk and it's talking about I don't know what. This is Almagro in Buenos Aires. It's a beautiful day, sunny day. Okay, so it's now finishing and it is starting. Okay, so this is fine. We have our new channel ID here, or the channel root, and the gateway is listening. But we still need to do some other things. So for now, let's just exit this. Control C. Okay. And now, now that the fun part starts, I'm going to connect the XDK110 to the XDK workbench, and I'm gonna turn this on by pressing the button that only has one dot on the unit. This is gonna connect the device on bootloader mode. Basically, this means that if it has an application flashed, which is my case, it's not gonna start running the application. It's gonna start waiting for you to flash something, and then it's gonna start running. So this compiled fine. Now we should be able to flash. So let's see how this goes. Meanwhile, and because I don't want to lose this console. Now, yeah, let's just exit here. We can come back later. Okay, so now it's flashing. Let's do this in a multitasking way. Let's run the okay, so this is about to send data now. As you can see here, do I want this to send data now? Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, the first data sets will produce an error, but now I want to log into to our gateway. And I want to run the cargo run thing again. Nope, like this. And let's open another Git to log into the Keepy thing. This part is like pretty much complex because I gotta do a lot of things at the same time, but we should be fine. So Keepy is here. The problem here is that because I am on a VPS, the session expires and and I lose control of the screens. So I need to do this fast in order to don't get that. So here, all we need to do is do, okay. So now Keepy is listening on port 3002, and we have the gateway at the back. Oh shit, we have a lot of things on. And now we should see what's going on here. I'm gonna reflash this because I was configuring some other stuff and I want to see how this starts. This is Keepy. And this one is the gateway, okay? And underneath we can see the console, which is flashing or should be flashing. Wait, we have some okay. So instead of flashing, because I already did that, let's just hit boot. When you have an application flashed on your XDK110, you can just start it with the boot button, which is what I just did. I want to have everything here. But for some reason here, this is not very responsive. This should go straight to, oh, wait. Okay, this is a problem because my access point is not, it was off actually. I am trying to connect to the Wi-Fi using my access point, but it was not. Let's review this. I had it, it was not running. Wait. Let me be sure that now it is, because otherwise, yeah, now it is. Okay, so now that my access point is running, this looks way better. If you take a look here, it is connecting. Okay, and it seems to be sending data, but environment sensor, success. Okay, so if you take a look here, we have our first data set sent to the channel, and we can double check this by going to our Explorer if we want, and we will, of course. And I don't remember the interval. I think that it might be 30 seconds, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it said it. So if I access the IOT2TANGLE Explorer and I want to see what's on this channel, we see that so far we sent 2 data sets. And because we are using the XDK110, we have the environmental thing, accelerometer, gyroscope, inertial, light, magnetometer, and acoustic. Okay. And this is going to keep sending. But right now, if you guys remember what we were doing, I mean, the XDK110 is not sending straight to the gateway. It's actually sending to Keepy, which is sitting here listening, right? And the idea here, and for this I want to go back to the Keepy repo because I want to see the endpoint options we have there. So let's check here. If you take a look here, once you start running Keepy, you should be able to access the messages that Keepy sent to the gateway by using the Keepy address plus the default port plus messages. So let's do that just to be sure that this is working as intended. I'm going to be opening here this. The port is 3002, and then messages. And for sure, we have here access to all the data sets we sent. And if you take a look to, let's do a quick hack. Suppose you only want to have the last one. So you can just query the endpoint messages last. And if you take a look here, we have the data set, and we also have the channel ID. So basically what this allows is, okay, I want to get data fast from an endpoint because my application needs to decide what to do. So I want to have, let's say, the XDK110 or ESP32 listening to an endpoint continuously, and I want to be I want them to be able to check what the last 2 or 3 data sets say. So now this is possible because of Keepy. But you can also check the integrity of the data against the Tangle because you have the channel ID here. So you will be always able to go open the channel ID and ask, hey, is this data set with this timestamp actually one of the messages on this channel? And your validation is going to find whether that is true or not. And then you will know if this data is actually stored and immutable on the Tangle or not. So I think that's it. That concludes the whole thing. I do want to mention that even though we use the XDK110 today, as long as you are using our I2T standard, our JSON object, we could have used any other device. In fact, the next one we are going to do, and I think I'm going to bring my camera back now, is going to be with this. This is an ESP32, and it's cable to MPU, which is a accelerometer and gyroscope sensor, and a VME280, which is a temperature, pressure, and humidity. And the next one, I'm going to be using this one. And today I could. I mean, it's just the same because Keepy does not care about how the data is created. All Keepy cares is, and not even Keepy, because Keepy does not validate your JSON. Keepy is going to just send what you send to Keepy to the gateway, and it's going to redirect the output that the gateway creates. So you will have a problem if you don't have the correct JSON format with the at the gateway level. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Do we have some questions, guys? I'm watching the screen here, and I have the YouTube chat, and I don't see any questions. So it's now or never. No questions today. Okay, we're really happy about all the amazing IoT IOTA integrations that we are seeing on behalf of the guys taking part of the hackathon. We have some really exciting things there. Actually, Keepy was the result of the needs that these guys have while developing, particularly one project that needed to know the last data set sent by the sensors. Hey, Eliabel. So, and that is why we thought, okay, we really could use this sort of middle application in which you can get only what you want. Also, there is another thing that we didn't see today, but Keepy is going to always keep track of the channel IDs. So if you want to reboot your gateway, once your gateway starts again, it's going to have a different channel ID. And Keepy will always know that the channel ID changed. So you will be able to go to the gateway. You will be able to ask our streams decoder to get the messages from the channel ID that the actual messages is in. And this is important because if you think about this, it's not a good idea to have all your information only in one channel. You don't want to have 3,000 messages in one channel. Why? Because eventually you will need to use that information, and it's going to be a nightmare to have to go through all those messages. Remember that Streams does not allow us to query as if we were using SQL, select this, where that is not possible. You got to fetch the whole thing, and then you can do whatever you want once you get it. So probably instead of having 3,000 messages on one channel ID, you can have 30 channels that contain 100 messages. I think it's way better. It's going to be way faster to validate data if you want to do that. And because right now Streams is not stateful, you just can't reconnect to the same seed to keep using the same channel root. We think it's a good idea to provide a method to decide where you want to switch channels. And the tool we will be using to map in which channel each message is will be Keepy, okay? And eventually I think this will create some sort of index connecting messages to channel IDs that we will need to distribute on the network, which means that we will use a channel ID to host that index, because we don't want to rely on a simple MySQL database. So we got to persist that somehow in a distributed system. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen here for you guys to see that this just keeps sending and sending, and the gateway keeps receiving and receiving. So because I see we have no questions, and we hit the 50 minutes, which is way long. I'm just gonna say bye bye. Thanks, guy, for being here today again. And the next one is gonna be the next workshop is gonna be using an ESP32, and hopefully we will have some surprises for you guys. But I don't want to say much now because I don't want to push Gustavo, who is the guy who is working on what we will be presenting. So thanks again, and see you guys on the next IEN workshop. Bye bye.